So today, I just want to spend a few minutes to go over, well, it won't be just a few minutes. I want to talk about one of the most important things that I've found. So if you watched my video earlier, I touched on, you can go out and learn stuff by watching videos. So here's a video that teaches a skill that I know makes money. And so we're going to talk about WordPress. So this is the number one CMS. The last time I checked, I think when at least at the time, 60% of the websites in the world are actually powered by WordPress. So you're in good company, but using the number one also introduces a lot of security things. So when I go over this today, I'm going to cover some security basics to make sure that you know how to set up a site with some basic security. So, but yeah, so WordPress, it can be used for a blog, a regular website. You can even build an online store with it. Um, because it is extensible and it has plugins, you can literally write a plugin to make it do anything. So you can go in and find entire plugins, like if you wanted to have a podcast and display your stream on your web page, you could put a player on there. You could um, add different features. Maybe you want to sell downloads to your music, right? Maybe you make music and you want people to pay you money to download them. Well, there's plugins that drive that entire process. And so you know, WordPress has its advantages, especially for people who are on a budget, because it's so easy to learn. So if you're having somebody build you a website in WordPress, it shouldn't be an expensive venture either, because yeah, once I show you a lot of the basics today, um, it'll make more sense what I mean when I say this is meant to be like an easy way to do it, but it's not necessarily easy because there's so many different ways to do it, and just choosing what you're going to use to build your site within WordPress is going to be the thing that I consider to be the hard part. And so, you can get it a number of ways. You can go to the website, you can download it, and you know download it from your hard drive, but that's not the only thing. And as much as I would love to discuss web hosting in another video, um, I'm going to cover some basics here. So you need a web host. Maybe you already have it. If you already have it and that account can take on another site for you to learn, then by all means, you use what you have. But I'm making the assumption that you don't. So you can make a WordPress website without spending any money. Um, so you can get, to learn it, you don't need to spend money. To run a business, you could go to like a free host, for example. Um, I think it is this. By the way, the link's in the description. So, so you could go here and then you can get, you know, a free hosting account. This is just enough to run one site, maybe two. You're not going to get a lot of disk space. You only get a gigabyte. You only get 50 gigabytes of transfer. So again, this is something that you get to do with with the space, if you're trying to learn how to build a WordPress website and you want to follow along with me on these videos, for the most part, you're going to be able to do the things that I'm doing um, with the account that you see here. From personal experience with this, though, and this is true of all free hosts, they make money. They have to make money because hosting gets expensive to run. So they give it, companies like this one and others give it away with the hopes that you'll pay for an upgrade. And just, ethically, if you use their free service and you find their service valuable, I would suggest looking at, some of their premium web hosting plans. I mean, this doesn't, like, 250 gigabytes sounds like they're cutting you a lot, but that's actually a lot more than you think. Your website's not going to do the kind of data transfer that you do at home, I promise, unless you got a really busy site. But if you're just starting off and you're just now looking at hosting and you see this isn't going to be a problem whatsoever. Um, Unlimited always has strings attached to it, no matter who the host is. So unlimited doesn't mean pay $5.99 a month and back up your computer's files to the web host too. That's not what that's for. That's you're gonna get your account shut off and those files deleted. But it's just for websites. You can hold your email there. I mean, you can usually get away with running any sites that store files, but in general, it's for hosting a website. But at any rate, all things aside, if you're just trying to follow along and you don't know, another way to follow along with WordPress is you can go here, localwp.com. If your computer has at least 8 gigabytes of RAM, you can download this tool and you can run and install things locally. And so that's another way to spend $0 and get started with WordPress. Just know this is going to be hosted on your computer, and you're not going to be able to share the website with your friends and family until you move it to an actual web hosting platform. So and I'm not going to cover how to move WordPress in this video rather. So but it is a thing that you can do. I do know that it is affiliated with WP Engine and Flywheel, so you'll both see options within the program to publish directly to them. Like if you look at the screenshot here, connected to Flywheel because yeah. So that's who originally created it when it came out. I remember when this tool first came out, the branding was local by Flywheel, and then they've removed the by flywheel part because of WP Engine. But yeah, it's a good tool. That's one way. I'm not going to cover how to use local in this video um, because I've actually already got a WordPress installation started that we're going to follow with here. So the other thing I want to show too is once you have that web hosting account, you'll get added to what's called a cPanel or control panel. And there's a whole bunch of them. The main one that's most popular out there is called cPanel. So that's fine and all, but no. So cPanel isn't the panel that you see here. This one's actually called CWP7 or Control Web Panels version 7, and I'm running the Pro. This is on a server that I run, but you would typically have an application like a script installer. Um, this is the one built into CWP7, but if you're on cPanel or Direct Admin, you typically have to install something like Softaculous. So your web host would actually have that on the server usually or something like it. But in all cases, they all work about the same. You go to the software, the scripts installer. You could go install WordPress. I'm using this one because this one here is very close to what you'll find in Softaculous. So, and all of these things are about the same. So you might pick the domain. um, I usually clear out the /WP because that's not where you want. You would enter the site title, the description, admin username, admin password, email address. Um, Make sure you do not use admin as a username for the admin because That's the one that everybody tries to use. That's what it defaults to. That's yeah, and you shouldn't do that because anybody that's trying to force your site, one of the very first thing that they check for is the username admin. And so once they know that it's a real account, they can hit it pretty hard and maybe they'll get in. Or maybe they'll take your site down in the process because you're on a shitty host. So, but yeah, no, I never got that fixed on my server, but it doesn't really matter. But there would normally be a thing down here where you can pick a theme, then you would click install. So you would go through all of that. Um, I think the Subtaculous version of the installer doesn't actually let you pick this, but I could be wrong. Either way, once you get in and you have something installed, the first time, well, if it's first off, if it's set up through Subtaculous or the CWP script installer, um, you wouldn't actually see this. You would just go straight to the dashboard. But this is installed on a different server than the one that I was showing you. So we're going to pick English because, well, I don't speak anything else. Let's see here. Yeah, right. Then we're going to hide this. So we're going to leave this unchecked. So WordPress is really good for SEO ranking. So and and so by checking that box, it would have added a robots.txt file that told search engines not to crawl your site. But because of the way WordPress works, you're not gonna have that problem though. All right, so this is what the WordPress dashboard looks like. So let's take a look a little bit at what we have here. There's not a whole lot here. You can actually drag stuff around and customize what's on your dashboard. Um, and you can also go and pick different things. So you can every user that has an account on your WordPress install has the ability to make this the way they want. So, there's you don't have to do any of that, but it's nice to know that you've got that as an option. A super important part is updates. So, updates are super important because if you don't run your updates, your site's probably going to get hacked. And by probably, I mean almost certainly. Because at this point, they're such you know, high profile targets because it's such low hanging fruit for a hacker to find a website. Um, like if we go, you can use a tool like whatcms.org and we can have it scan any URL. And by the way, we are with HTTP. I don't have SSL installed on this one. You're going to want to make sure that with your actual hosting account that you use the free SSL if it's available to you. SSL sites that are secured, Google rewards that with a higher ranking. So if your site is just HTTP, and don't get me wrong, for what we're doing right here and what you're doing, if you're just making one to follow along with me, sometimes the site hangs. But yeah, they don't need to be SSL. So sorry, it's been a lot. So this didn't detect the actual CMS. but it's okay. You can still, there's other ways to check sites for that. Like if I didn't know what was there, you can, an easy way to tell is just slash wp-admin. If it's not your site, you're not going to get the dashboard, but yeah. So either way, but it's so easy to find out. And because it's so easy to find out, that tool, that what CMS usually nails the, it'll tell you the version and all that other stuff. So like it'll tell you a ton of stuff. It can tell you what plugins are installed, what themes, what theme you're using. Like these WordPress it gives away a whole lot of information. And so it's really important that you take extra care to make sure that your website is secure. It's your job. If you own it, you got to take care of it or pay somebody to. Uh, and of course, one of the first things that people will mention is, oh, well, change it, make sure it's not WP admin anymore. And there's a few plugins that do that, and I'm not going to get into it here, not today, but it's definitely a good idea, but you can do quite a few things without having to do that. But yeah, so you have three different kinds of updates. You have the core updates to WordPress itself, you have your plugins, and you have your themes. So core is WordPress itself. I think that should be pretty self-explanatory, but you know, and then on top of WordPress, you have plugins and themes. So themes are what makes your site look pretty. And there's thousands upon thousands of themes. You can have your site can have all sorts of looks, and you don't have to pay for all of them either. So again, if you're following along with me on the free host, I think some of these plugins and theme markets don't work right, and you'll have to actually find it on the WordPress website on their repo to get that. But yeah, so plugins are things that actually do things like a file sharing service, for example. So then posts, we'll go through posts. This is a blog. First and foremost, when WordPress came out back in the late 2000s, it was a blog. And so, true to its origins, it has some really nice ways. And this is the new editor. I'm going to stop calling it new. It's called Gutenberg. It's a block editor. And it gets a lot of hate, but I think this is a good example of a site. If we're going to sit there, it can tell you how to do stuff, but we just wanted to get started. So on this first one here, you can type whatever you want, like make it a blog post, right? So, and then you can go back and you can highlight things, you can make things bold. So now it's bolded. This font, and it probably doesn't look that bolded on the screen here. So let's make it italicized too. And then, but if we click this little plus sign here, we can do some other things. Paragraph, image, heading, quote, list, and gallery. So another paragraph, another text block, you can put an image. A heading would be something like that hello world there. A quote um, is exactly a quote, so you'd have in this one, So if you hit enter twice, it gets it out of that mode. So quote's just going to be that, right? And then a list might be item 1, item 2, item 3. And then if we're like this and we hit enter once more, it breaks you out of that. Then we can hit the plus sign, but let's hit browse all and see what else. I want to go through this because it's something that other builders. For this video, I'm not going to explore any of these other builders. I'll talk about them, like Elementor, Beaver Builder, Oxygen, WP Bakery. Those are some really common ones. Oh, Breakdance, those and Bricks, and there's all sorts of new ones now, right? But there's many different choices out there, but ultimately they all kind of sort of work about the same. It's just that Gutenberg needs to be developed further, because everybody hates it. It just feels like it's an extra thing in it. Still better than the, oh, use the classic WordPress editor. So you can do that. That's not exactly. If you want the classic one, there's a plugin in there called Classic Editor, and that'll bring it back. But anyway, yeah, so we can add a YouTube video or any kind of video. Oh, upload, media library, insert from URL. So you can embed something there. Um, you can have buttons. You could put columns. So if we wanted, so this is where Gutenberg actually gets good. So let's say we wanted to do this. And we put a paragraph here and then a list over here. Um, yeah. So yeah, and this is just playing. So go back over here. But yeah, we could do all sorts of stuff, media and text. And again, you can drag these wherever. You don't have to just put them sequentially. And that's, that's what's really cool. So if we want to do something uploaded, oh good, it's not showing you my file folder. That's what I was worried about. And then you could upload a picture and, so you have different pictures that, so you can upload pictures, you could put it in. Columns, honestly, are going to be the best way to, build out your web page. Because if you don't use columns, and this is just a blog post, but the editor is the same. And then you can do other things. Navigation, site logo, site title. So what these do, so the site title is something that this is managed, like you can't manually change this text here. I would have to go into the main WP admin settings again and change that in order to change that. So a lot of these are like lookup values that are looking things up in the database that are preset somewhere else. So no matter what website is, it's not going to show anything but the title that you've already set. You can have an avatar that reaches out to your user's gravatar. So it has to do with whatever you've set, and I've used that picture forever. I have never fed this picture in my life to this website, and it's pulling it from a site that I have uploaded it to. So, and that'll be within unless I use a different email address. But yeah. So let's see. You got all sorts of stuff, and as you go along, the embeds, those are really important. You know, just a plain embed, a Twitter embed, otherwise known as X, a YouTube, a WordPress, SoundCloud, Spotify, Flickr, Vimeo, Animoto, CloudUp, Crowd Signal, Dailymotion, ImageUR, Issue, Kickstarter, Mixcloud, Pocketcast, Reddit, ReverbNation, Screencast, Embed, Scribd, Embed, SmugMug, Speak. It just goes on and on all the way down. You know, they got stuff for like Blue Sky. And apparently WordPress.tv is a thing. I wouldn't have known. So yeah. So there's definitely some options. What the hell is WordPress.tv? You know what? That honestly looks like a good site to go to if you're trying to learn how to use WordPress. So, yeah, useful. So you learn something new every day. But yeah, so anyway, this is how you can build out a website. I'm not going to build a website here in front of you with it, not with this, but let's just save the picture. And now we just want to go back to the dashboard. And so if we go to the website, right now, this is the blog post that we just created. And don't forget to bring me my Cheetos next time you come by. But anyway, yeah, so so that same editor is how you would build a page. And again, you would want to put everything in columns to make the different. Like if we were to look at this site, this would be a column, and then this would be a big column, just for example. So, you'll figure it out. Oh yeah, under posts. So you can all post, you can add new post. We're not going to do that. Posts have categories. And by default, you have one called uncategorized. And that's where it's going to make everything until you start putting things in tag categories. Tags are really good for SEO. If you're doing a tag and let's say you wanted to tag WordPress in it, you would just, and you could leave the description blank. But now if you go into a post, let's see what quick edit gives us, because I think, and it finds it. But if you don't put one in there, I don't think. No, you can add WordPress, and then you go over here to tags, and so that's the two ways to add tags. And so eventually, tags are really good for SEO, though. Those are good for searching because if somebody's looking for one of these things, if they're trying to find farts on your web page and you tag things, articles with fart, then that tends to help them find farts. Of course, I usually suggest going to Taco Bell, but to each his own. So media library. This is always good. It usually shows what's in there. You can click add new media files, so you can drag and drop a file into this dotted box here. But you can also select files to upload. If you hit add new here, and then all it does is show that part. Same rules, same thing. You can drag and drop or click select files. Pages. So that's the other major content type that you're going to have here. Um, pages. So it comes with a basic one called sample page. So you can have your home page set up to do a couple different things. You can either do your blog or you can set it to a static page. So by default, it's your latest post. That's why the blog is showing up. So if we tell it to go to sample page, and now instead of our artwork that we created a few minutes ago, we have this, and that's on the home page. So, obviously we've got to sort out navigation. So let's see, comments. Because this is social by nature, by the way, let's go back to pages. No. Pages have categories too, I think. No, they're just pages. Okay, comments. Comments, because this is meant to be something social, um, if you allow it, people who are visiting your website can comment on your blog posts. It doesn't let you comment on the pages, but the blog posts typically have an option for people to leave a comment. Um, if you go, like, for example, if you go to my site, right, and I haven't been on here in a while, but if you go to the bottom of a page, you can leave a reply. You can say something like, hey, I like that too, but I had a problem, blah, blah, blah. You can say whatever you want, but you also need to make sure. So what happens is after they go there, um, if your site's been set up right, and I think by default it is, where you have to approve, but we'll go over comments later. But yeah, this is a sample comment. So then we go over to appearance. So you do two things here. There's themes and then there's a theme editor. So the editor, by the way, is just an easier way to deal with stuff. But that's actually, I usually don't go to the editor, and the editor is a lot nicer than it used to be. It used to be a text editor. All right, so, but we can go in, these are the themes that are already installed, but we can also add new themes. So if you're on a free host, this doesn't work. You're getting an error message that's basically saying we can't do this. So now you might be able to get this far, but if you click something, let's say we like this one a lot. So we click install, and then we want to activate it. And if we go over here, it looks a little different now. It doesn't look like it does in the screenshot. So let's go into the customizer. Let's find out why. So the layout, homepage settings. Yep, yep. So in a lot of these pages, so this theme's a little different, but template, there's usually, yeah, page builder full width. So let's go back over here. All right, that's a good sign. So now you can go in and start adding your content, right? But with this theme, this one I wasn't expecting, it's nice. So this one's cool because you can have starter sites with it. So you had to install a plugin. We're just going to call it personal. And then I don't know. a resume, web developer. I don't know. Let's see what else do we have. What if we went in and we do a blogging site? Ooh, that looks kind of cool. The minimal blog. Minimal is a design type, by the way, and it's considered very modern. But yeah, so this is something, by the way. A lot of these will work for free, but then there's caveats and limitations because they have premium versions that let you do stuff. So I don't know. So what I see here too is this little flag called Pro. That doesn't say Pro. That doesn't say Pro. And that was the one that I liked the most. So without much further ado, let's just go. So in this one, it looks like you can change like your color palette. So yeah, and the typography, you got some misspellings here. And let's find something real quick. Or not real quick. Like, I think this is supposed to be a logo. I'm absolutely not using a logo. So we're going to use something that's, you know, our logo is going to be P. Diddy being a fucking pervert. So, yeah, let's import this and see what it does. Skip in view site. So now this is what the website looks like. We've imported a theme, we have content, and now all we got to do is go in and change what we have, right? So if we're going to go over to pages, I'm going to work with the home page, and it automatically changed home to be the front page, so we don't have to go back and edit the settings again. It's already done that for us. But we have a couple different sites here, but pages rather. So apparently we now have a new plugin called Otter Blocks. It's a lightweight dynamic connection. Okay. So I think that was brought in with the theme. But I'm glad that we have it because that means that we have things that we can use. And so this is going to give us a really unexpected surprise. This is actually a free way to make a website, and it looks really good. I never heard of this theme, but this is actually one of the nicest things I've seen in a long time. In a long time. So, but we can go in and add stuff like blocks now, and if we insert that, let's see how to move something. Yeah, so we grab that little those 6 dots, and I think that should be right there, right? Don't you think? Yeah. So, if we were really building a website, this whole process could take 30 to 40 minutes to really build out and get quite right. Um, if you're looking to be a web designer, I want you to be aware right now that when it comes to writing the content, that is somebody else's job, unless you quote extra for it. But you need to make sure your customer knows that, hey, you've got, I'm designing the site and building the site for you, but I'm not writing the content. I'm not providing that content for you. And I wouldn't give any of it for free if it's something that takes your time. even if you go into an AI and have the AI write the content, you need to charge for that. So, so they can go in and provide the content themselves or take the time to go into AI and again produce the content themselves and give it to you. But you can also go to sites like Fiverr or Upwork and find people who are very good at doing that for you for a fee. But either way, let's pretend that this is done. Let's talk about the menu editor real quick. So, because at this point, by the way, now if we hit refresh, this is what the site looks like now. And there's that services section that we just added. Oh, I forgot to drag that. I didn't know there were two of them. Okay, fine. Either way, we'll pretend that's a website, but you can go in and do that same thing with every one of these. Okay, I think I finally found something about Gutenberg that I like. Huh. So yeah, that's good. Okay, so again, pages, comments, appearance, themes, there's patterns. Patterns are going to be like those little predetermined layouts. That's one of those things that got imported in the outer blocks and stuff like that. I didn't realize how freaking cool that I never heard of that theme. Looks like it added a bunch of stuff here. Optimal image optimization. Okay, that's an important thing to go over. Um, there's actually one called wpsmush. Let's see what. Yeah, they did all that. So like, but for image optimization, you don't need to pay for that. You can use Smush, and then okay, yeah, you want this, and then you want this. This makes this work correctly for nothing. Oops. But yeah, so if you go in and look, I'm all for using stuff for free, but if you're using software to make a living, to make your money, like I'm showing you this because this is good for you to learn from. But if you're actually building a site for a client, make sure that you're actually paying for the things that's being used. Like at the very least, to remove the plugin for disabling the free version and only bring that in there whenever you need to. But you should absolutely be, this is so this is, by the way, this is part of something called wpmudev, and they have a monthly plan, and and you can also pay for like $3 a month, 144 yearly. I don't, yeah, okay, no, that's the discount. Just hear me out. You can pay a reasonable fee to use these plugins, um, but the other thing too is they have a subscription that lets you pay for everything. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Either way, this is a good one to run. It doesn't necessarily make it pro, so you're not really pirating, but what it does is it removes the limitations for like booksmush and stuff like that. So technically it's not even unethical. It just takes away the main reason to even pay for it. Um, you have 24 attachments that need smushing. We hit bulk smush. I don't know if that would work on the free host. So, like I said, go to A2. You follow my link for the A2 hosting. Get that, get that, get that. You'll like that. But it'll, yeah, so see, we ran that and it's done. Um, Otterblocks brought its own thing. Um, Users, let's talk about users. This is a multi-user system. You do not need to have one password for everything, okay? If you hire a developer, he doesn't need your login. You need to create one. Add new user. You can fill out all those fields, generate a password, and make sure that you give him the administrator role or her. So there is no reason for that. And then we're going to sit there and, yeah. So long story short, you know, that's the ins and outs of WordPress. You'll find a lot of this stuff, as you go along. But let's talk about security. And out of the box, it genuinely doesn't seem to have shit for security. But the the one thing that I want to draw attention to is updates. The very first thing you do before any plugins, before anything, is you want to make sure that your plugins and themes are set up for auto updates. So you'll go over here under bulk action, you want to enable auto updates. Otherwise, you're going to have to log in every single day of the week to make sure there's no updates. This way, you don't have to. This feature alone stopped a lot of websites from being hacked. Um, so many sites back in 2013, 2014 were getting hacked because as soon as the website went, the plugin had a vulnerability, and even when the developer would release an update, if the person didn't manually go in and update that, they didn't get the update. When they introduced this feature, that stopped a lot of that. This is why I said that WordPress has gotten a lot better, but it used to be really bad. You've really got to be careful, like with this thing here, with this theme, and it happens with paid themes too, because this is also a paid theme. Um, they will include other plugins, and there was a time when Rev Slider, a very popular Revolution slider, very popular plugin, had a vulnerability, major vulnerability, and a lot of sites were getting hacked. Well, the problem is there were some other plugins that bundled Rev Slider in with their stuff, right? The problem is the official updates didn't benefit that plugin. That was all through, it was on the developer of that plugin to make sure that the latest version of RevSlider was being pushed out to their users. And let me tell you, that is not usually a priority for them. I think a lot of them stopped doing that, but or they've switched to doing it like what this did was trigger the installation and update. So it is a plug, something that we have here. And so these will get updated, and I'm not worried about that. But you can add a new plugin, so you can manually upload. So if we're going to talk about security, I think Wordfence is a good start for security. Yeah, I don't think you need that or that, but we will install, yeah, because it includes the login security. But login security at the very least, Subtaculous enables its own login security thing. It's not as robust and well developed as Wordfence, but it technically gets the job done. So we'll just click activate here. We don't need a license. So continue. Did they change that? Get your Wordfence license. Get a free license. Okay. The hell? Okay. Well, you should probably say yes. I don't want the spam. I'm already subscribed to it. So they changed this since the last time I did any of it. So we have to have a license key now. Install an existing license. That's really dumb. So we'll grab the license key here. No, I don't want the email install license. So we got the free license. So you never used to have to do that. Um, I'm probably going to look and see if there's another alternative to Wordfence, but honestly, you know what? And that's the whole thing. Wordfence has been a standard for so long that, you know, what was once the best has really been slipping sometimes. And sometimes they don't get worse. But yeah. Yeah, there's all sorts of I'll do some research and do another video in the future about alternatives to Wordfence. And sorry, I was just checking chats and stuff to see if anybody popped on. No, but it's okay. So, but either way, if you're going to go in and configure Wordfence, let's go through a few pages here. Manage firewall. Let's set in learning mode. Um, yeah, it's going to make me grab the htaccess file. All right. All right. So it did whatever it did there. So that's going to help a lot. You don't you weren't the free version isn't going to give you the real-time IP block list. Hopefully your host is using something like Bitninja to protect. They most definitely have something like fail to ban or login failure daemon. But yeah, so and speaking of fail to ban, there is actually a plugin called WordPress fail to ban. But yeah, this that's probably a good alternative. But this is a good comprehensive protection anyway. So delay, yeah, leave that alone. Allow listed services. We, manage WP is something that is useful. So I would allow it. Let's look at brute force protection. We want that on. 20 is a lot. How many login failures? I'm kind of mean. You get 5 before you get blocked. Lock out after how many? Forgot password attempts? 5. Because you could be genuinely struggling with it. Count failures over what time period? 4 hours is enough. Amount of time a user's locked out. Immediately lock out. Invalid username. So remember when I said admin is one of the top ones? Yeah, so we make sure that admin is that way. So if somebody tries to log in with admin, it blocks it. Um, Prevent the use of passwords leaked in data breaches for admins only. Yeah, you gotta do it. Yeah. So that way people don't just spam garbage on your website if they have an account. Because again, if your website turns into something that is getting a lot of traffic, it's really popular, guess what happens? Um, you know how nice it would be to get a nice link, even if it's for a few days on a nice highly optimized site, and yeah, they'll try to post advertisements and other garbage promoting whatever ill desired anyway. Yeah, so that's good. Keep your stuff secure. They usually just throw hack pages on though and make it look like, yeah. Anyway, so enforce strong passwords. Don't let WordPress reveal valid users and login errors. So there's all sorts of security things, rate limiting and advanced blocking. So verify Google crawlers will not be rate limited. So this is a way to prevent a denial of service attack. So if you want to make sure that they're not hitting your site, if they're not trying to browse too much, honestly, if you're on like a shared hosting plan, you don't want that to be a high number. Any individual person shouldn't be more than 60 or yeah, and that's false pos, and they say that because that's 60 requests. You could easily have 60 requests in a page load, but this is in a minute. This is in 60 seconds. And yeah, let's and then throttle it. And throttle it. If it goes past 240 a minute, then block it. No, that's not how that works. If it's a crawler, crawlers can go more, but throttle it doesn't block it. Yeah. So if a human's page views exceeds 120 a minute, and I don't want to have that that many 404 errors, but again, if you're calling elements that don't work, you don't necessarily have to just block things. But again, we go to allow listed URLs, which excludes them from being tested with anything. So if you know you got a favicon that's going to or an image that's going to get pulled a bunch, then any element, any URL, anything that you can whitelist isn't going to count towards any of these. So I'm not saying what I gave you there was the right choices, but if I'm starting off something small, I think you should be okay there. So then we can go in over here. There's a scan, and you can go through. You can start a website scan, and it's going to scan your site. What it's going to do is it's going to look for edited files that don't match what they're supposed to be. They're going to look for files that are encrypted that shouldn't be there. It's going to look for files, WordPress core files, and plugin files, and theme files that are different than the versions in the repository. And it's going to show you what it finds. So this is a brand new clean install, so of course it's perfectly clean. But yeah, if it shows you, it'll show you if you're having problems, that a site, if your site's hacked. And this is a very powerful tool to help clean up your site if you do have that problem. Tools. I don't find myself using this too often. This has almost never been a reason why I use it, but we got human bot warning block for different colors, but you can watch live traffic. There's an audit log, so that's in a premium feature, but this means that if somebody, um, any user, say you have a developer, that this will show everything that your developer has been doing in your site. So, but that's something that you might have to pay for. I say might because if we go over here to plugins and we type in audit log, chances are really good there's a free audit log plugin that does the exact same thing. In fact, I know there is because I've used it. Who is lookup? So if you want to look up a domain name, you can do the same thing with an IP address, but this is, Google's who is information. You can import export features. So if you have multiple sites and you want to use the same settings no matter how many times you install Wordfence, you can export these or import them. So so if this is how you want to do all your sites, you can click export. You copy and paste this and save this because you can hit import. Well, you go to this, you might not see it on here. It doesn't seem too visible here to me in person, but either way, you give it the code and you click import. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, all of that. Yeah. Login security, two-factor authentication. This is absolutely important. Um, I may not use this during these videos because this isn't a real site and never will be. But if this is a site that you're building for you and you're actually like it's supposed to be a site for you, not just a lab project, then I would absolutely enable two-factor. And if you've never enabled two-factor on it before, that's the perfect excuse to do it because what happens, so two-factor, the reason why they call it two-factor is it's the two factors are what you have, what you know, and what you have. So what you know is going to be your username and password. You know those. Somebody else could know those too, which means if they know those, then they can get into whatever you're able to get into with with that combination of credentials. So, knowing how scary that is, that's what this is for because now it turns into something that you have. And what you have is a phone that when you click on it, or you run this app, it could be Google Authenticator. I like Microsoft Authenticator, but I think most people use Google. And either way, you go into this and it generates these 6-digit codes that are seemingly at random, and it's on a time schedule. Like there's an algorithm for it, and so you open it up, you find the entry for the website that you're at, and you enter the code after you've provided your username and password. So you'll scan this QR code with your authenticator app, but you can also manually input that. So then they have all options where you can go in and see everything there. There's help. But yeah, so I don't know. If you want to treat this like a class, I guess your homework is post go through and build out a simple web page, you can go to like AI and have it generate content, or you can make an entire site with just lorem ipsum content. So this is like a text generator, and it's literally just used for placeholder text. So yeah, if I wanted to do it, yeah. So you can take this and paste stuff, this text in places where you would like to have text. But I don't know. Go ahead and make a website, post it here, and I'll tell you what I think. But in the meantime, um, yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot that I'm going to go over in this because anymore is going to make the video way too long. You know, I'm not going to go over blogging best practices. Um, I probably could show you. So again, if you go to that URL, not what I just typed, it is on A2 hosting though, but use my link, you'll support the channel. You just go over to web hosting. You can get one of their web hosting plans, and it'll actually be um, like you'll get the full experience. You won't have the same restrictions like you do with um, like with the free hosting. You know, the free hosting is going to be slow. This is going to be fast. You can get they've got some pretty good promos right now. I mean, we just had Black Friday, and I think last week was Cyber Monday week, and they're still having good deals. So now's an excellent time of year to be shopping for hosting. But yeah, go through here, and if that's what you want to do, because especially if you're following along to this video because you're trying to learn a new skill, or you're just trying to build something for your company, um, for your business, then you don't want to use free hosting. You actually want to pay for hosting. And to be fair, if you're worried about all these restrictions on free hosting and you still have a budget of $0, um, down use local WP, and that actually works 100%. It just uses your computer's power, but you don't have any restrictions in terms of, you know, what's going to work and what's not going to work. Everything that I just did with this site, you're going to be able to follow along um, on the other. So, but yeah, that's what I would do. But yep, if I'm planning on doing some more of these, so if you like WordPress or you want to keep learning how to do stuff,